This podcast is part of the Treksphere Network.
To find more Star Trek-related content, visit Treksphere.com.
You go. You do this. And here's that 7 to 10 seconds where we try and think of something. We've had how many hours, how many days in between the last time we recorded?
I know, right?
To think of something.
All right, ready.
The answer is nothing.
Good evening. As you know, this is the measure of an episode, where it is our continuing mission to...
Man, that does not sound like him at all.
Who are you doing? I have no idea. It was like I was Ferguson Price. No,
Ian McKellen, you know. No. Alfred Hitchcock.
Really? I could see it being like in between Hitchcock and Gandalf.
Because that's how he started every episode of Hitchcock Presents.
Good evening.
It's as if Hitchcock went to a Halloween party as Gandalf.
Here we go. I'm Hitchcock.
That's it. Now I get it. I hear it now. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
It snapped into place
Right.
for me.
It's just more in the back of the throat. Got it. Okay.
It was as though he's drinking a Pepsi.
Right. As you know, this is the Measure of an Episode, where it is our continuing mission to explore what makes Star Trek proper Star Trek, and not, oh my gosh, this was 2 different episodes. Like, I was fully invested the first half and then bored out of my mind in the second half. I'm Jonathan.
Me too, except the
other way around.
Well, no, it was like 5 minutes of interest, then 5 minutes of boredom, then 5 minutes of interest, then 5 minutes of boredom.
Oh, like when they
kind of sliced it up for me.
From the moment they went into interview Mira till the end, which was almost literally at the halfway point, it moved so slow. But we're not there yet.
Yeah. And I'm Paul, and the criteria by which we judge these episodes, number 1, is there science fiction inherent to the plot of the episode? Number 2, is that science fiction unique or novel in some way? And number 3, is there a tale of morality, a conundrum of morality? Or
things that are moral.
Things that aren't or are moral. Or ethical dilemmas, as they're also called, is the third one. And I'm Paul.
And I'm Jonathan. And this week, we decided to watch we didn't decide to watch. The Random Generator provided for us a Star Trek episode, this time the original series, of Season 3, Episode 18, The Lights of Zetar, where on Hulu, it says, the Enterprise must deal with discorporeal cloud-like aliens who have already destroyed the inhabitants of a library planet and plan to eliminate the Enterprise crew if they cannot acquire a human host.
This is really funny because the Amazon one is way more inside baseball. The Amazon one is Zetarians threaten Lieutenant Mira Romaine. That's the whole thing. It's like, you know the drill. You know all of these people.
Right.
Even though Zetarians never come back, and I don't think Mira Romaine ever comes back.
Yeah.
It's 4 words. 5 words.
That's great.
Yeah. Could not be more of a difference. Anyway, I couldn't wrap my brain. I will say that I did find the secret hack, the cheat to watching videos now on Amazon. With my secret speed up thing. That's not part of Amazon, but now it's like a little plugin you get into your browser, and now you can watch them at any speed you want.
Right.
Any speed. I can watch it at 50 times speed.
You're like, I finished every episode in 3 minutes.
What happened was I was watching it, and they were speaking in their regular normal speed, which is unacceptable. It's like, and I looked at the timing on the on the episode. It's like 49 minutes to go. I was like, this is unacceptable.
Nope, not happening.
Yeah. So I had to do some research.
Right.
I found it.
I don't know. Like, I wonder which would be better, for it to be at a normal speed and for you to be distracted doing something else, or for it to be, based on your last text, at 1.8 speed.
Well, what's great is it increments in 0.1 at 0.1. So when they're like dragging somebody or just doing something where nobody's talking, I ramp it up a little bit, you know. But then when somebody's talking, I need to concentrate and get all of the little things that matter. Minutia. There you go. You bring it down so you can hear what they're talking about.
Right.
It's great. It's like a new life.
See, there's got to be, you know how you can skip the gaps in podcasts? It'd be great if they could do that for episodes.
Well, I mean, I feel like eventually we're going to be doing this show based on the paragraph in Memory Alpha. We're just not going to watch them anymore. It's been 5 minutes skimming the synopsis on Memory Alpha.
Power through 3 episodes at a time based on just the paragraph.
Speaking of Memory Alpha, John.
I know, here it is.
This is the episode that I'm guessing this is where the namesake of Memory Alpha came from.
No, I was looking it up, and it's actually a
concept,
complete coincidence.
You're kidding.
I am.
No, it's not. Shut up. Shut up. You're off the podcast.
And this is Paul flying solo from now on.
And I'm Paul. And I'm Paul. Welcome.
Actually, a really fun fact about this episode, it was written by Sherry Lewis. Do you know who that is?
No.
The lamb chop puppet, the sock puppet of a lamb, and she had kind of like a redhead fro. Sherry Lewis, like
I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
from the Sherry Lewis show and Lamb Chop and Friends. Like,
are those real things? I can't tell.
Yes.
Okay, really?
Yeah.
I thought you just made up the lamb chop. Like all that could have been made up, and I've been like, yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
Solid joke.
I mean, I'm pretty sure. I don't know whether or not they're actually true, but she did have multiple shows where she wasn't a guest star on the show with Lamb Chop. Like, they were the feature and other things were with them.
That's hilarious. Sort of as a precursor to Sesame Street type of thing? Was it for kids?
No, it was. I mean, it was kind of a knockoff of it.
Okay.
Yeah, like I think she probably did Lamb Chop before the Henson Muppets were a thing, but
I do know the first iteration of the Muppets were commercials.
Yeah.
Very early, and they were for adults. They were like the Muppets were being
they promoted smoking adulting. And yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, so the script was originally rejected because they were working on a very similar plot, and then that script got scrapped. And so when Sherry Lewis came back with a second script, they were like, "We don't want the second one. We want the first one that you gave us," and that became this.
Wish you would have told me that.
Sorry,
2 weeks ago.
Again, something that would have been nice to know yesterday. But I don't know, like how many plot points you want to hit, like how many beats you want to hit. But I like talk about misogyny after she got attacked by the aliens, and she's in the medical room, and everybody is speaking for her and talking down to her, and
especially Scotty
mansplaining.
Scotty, like,
oh my gosh, yeah.
He was so condescending. It's like, no, sweetie, this is what time of the month is it?
Seriously, like, and it's like the first time she's ever been to a doctor. He's like, "Will you just let him do his job?" Like,
it was kind of cringeworthy.
It totally was. Oh my gosh, it was so bad.
But then, okay. Not but then.
Do you want to go back?
They're on their way.
Okay.
To Memory Alpha, right? Because they got to drop off some data.
Yeah.
They don't have Dropbox yet, so they have to deliver the data to Memory Alpha. And we get some, Scotty's hitting on Romaine, and it's hard to tell if she's into it or if she's just used to this, and she kind of has to muscle through it. It's like, this happens 15 times a day. So let's just get through it.
So the idea there was the reason why it was Scotty was because Kirk always gets the girl, and Sherry Lewis actually wanted to have somebody else be the love interest in this point. But you're right, like this opening scene, because we've never seen her before, it was just like, is this the first time they're meeting and Scotty doesn't know how to act around a girl? Is this?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It felt like Scotty's never been attracted to a woman until now and has no idea how to act.
Right. Yeah. So do I just stick my penis in you now, or?
She's like, fine. If it makes this go faster,
Oh, the misogyny.
Yeah. But then the smoke monster light starts flashing because they've got installed one of those. They're like, we need something to, because this happens way too much.
Yeah, which actually I like that it was different this time around. It had those little like square firework explosion things in the lights.
Right.
It wasn't just
They got a new plug-in.
It wasn't just glitter being swirled around. Yeah.
Right. Or filming a lava lamp or something.
Right.
Like that.
Yeah. There was
And yeah.
I'm just going to keep going. You're fine. Go.
Okay. Yeah.
And what?
Scene? Is that what's next? So the monster starts behaving erratically. We're not sure what it is. They don't call it a monster. They actually don't know what it is.
They call it a storm.
And they call it a storm. Okay, well, there's something very interesting about that, but hang on. So first, we get it kind of attacks the crew. We learn later that they're not necessarily attacking, but some people can't move, some people can't see, some people can't talk. And for Kirk, it tickles the interpretive dance thing in his brain. Because I swear to God, like the whole thing where he can't say anything, we're not sure if he's just in the middle of a sentence or if he actually can't talk.
Right. Yeah. Bad person to show that you can't talk.
We're just not sure.
Right.
Yeah. And then he does this thing where he covers his face,
Yep.
and and then he just freezes, like he's not writhing in pain.
Right.
We're not sure if him covering his face is working.
Right.
And it's just very bizarre. And I want to
see
know. I want to know what was the plan, and also what was the direction
Right.
to Kirk.
Yeah.
It's like it's not because they weren't really in pain. I guess they were just shocked that he could no longer talk.
Yes. He's like, this is an incredibly long pause. Why are no words coming out?
Yeah. And so I guess it leaves again, and Romaine is stunned, and she's sort of trying to communicate, and et cetera. And it's kind of seeded that now there's something different about her. Actually, I wasn't sure, because after the moment where the smoke monster takes her over or whatever,
Right.
or that she gets really kind of mean. And so I wasn't sure if is that her normally, because she doesn't talk when Scott is hitting on her.
Right.
So I wasn't sure if this is her normal personality or if there's something else going on. They don't mention it. They don't say, "Oh, her personality has changed."
Exactly.
She's become way more belligerent, and so I wasn't sure if that was supposed to be the point.
Yeah. No, I don't know either. And it was, I struggled with the same thing. I thought that she had now been possessed by the aliens. And so I was a little confused. I thought that she was going to be able to talk with them the way she was connected to them as we learned over the course of the episode.
Right. It was a slow transformation of some kind.
Yeah.
But then the monster goes away. The smoke monster goes away. And they're trying to figure out what was going on. And Kirk is talking to Spock about it. And Kirk keeps referring to it as a storm, and finally Spock corrects him and says, "It's not a storm. It wasn't a storm.
Stop calling it that." Right.
I know. And it happens actually later that Kirk refers to it as a storm, even after having been corrected by Spock.
Yes.
And I thought, oh, that's interesting. Is there something happening now where Kirk, once again, is on some sort of vendetta that we don't know about and thinks it's a storm? Is Kirk's past going, was he a storm chaser at a certain point?
And has his new obsession, right?
Yeah, exactly. That kind of thing. Because it could have gone anywhere.
Right.
Like there wasn't usually there's like an obvious plot line that you can clock from the very beginning of the episode. Oh, this is going to be about this from now on. And this kind of didn't do that. I thought that Romaine was slowly going to turn into some like monster or just turn into a goon of the smoke monster or something like that and take over the ship or kill Kirk or sleep with Kirk and then try and kill him, most likely.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right. This episode was a little bit scattered in that way because it did feel like there were some redirects, but not in a way that seemed like the script was intentionally doing it. Like, it didn't seem like the script was trying to lead the audience astray. It was like, we're going to follow this thread. Oh, no, but it turns out it's going to be this instead. Instead of keeping us guessing in a good way of, what I thought was going to happen was wrong, it kept us guessing in a bad way of, well, then wait, why did we talk about that before if it doesn't matter now?
Oh, by the way, as a side note, I watched the unremastered. Just the mastered.
Oh, okay.
I saw just the mastered version, and it's kind of glorious how bad it is. Because all the exteriors, it's a shame there weren't more exteriors, and I'm curious if you watched the remastered one and what they look like. And it was just kind of nice to see, this is what it originally looked like. This is how people in the 60s watched the show. I got my wish. Remember, I've been wishing for this for a long time.
Yeah.
Do you watch this show, Jonathan?
No, I listened to it.
Oh, right. Good. That was a test. You passed.
Thanks. But I also liked, I didn't like that it was the same stock footage each time. You know, like every time they went to her eye, it was 3 different times. Or it was the same thing 3 times. But I did like that it wasn't a freeze frame. Like she genuinely had to hold that pose of not blinking for however long that was and not moving her eyeballs. Like there was no,
which is really hard to do.
Exactly.
It's very difficult to do. Yeah.
So when they beam down to the planet, this is the only time in the entire series where the 4 principal personnel go down to the planet altogether.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But
that never happens again?
Or before. Yeah. I mean, they've only got like 8 episodes left before this is done, but this was,
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
It did feel like this could have been an early episode, season 1. It felt kind of janky. It just didn't feel like people who've been writing for the show for 3 years. Like this was their output for it.
Right. Yeah, it was an interesting blend because the script didn't feel that good, but I felt like all the actors really knew their characters. And so like the banter was really good.
That's true. Although not a lot of Spock McCoy banter.
No, that would have been fun to see. Yeah, this would have been a good episode for it too, just because of how much time they'd spent together. But we only got it at the very end. Yeah.
So Romaine starts having these visions. It's like a very brief vision of somebody dead, like laying dead, and we're like, "Oh, what's that?" And then they beam down, and the crew who beams down finds, which was very interesting considering what we've been watching, an Andorian,
right? Yeah,
and a couple of Oompa Loompas laying around.
They're called Tellarites, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, and so we find out, this is the vision she was having. She's able to see the future somehow, which is kind of marginalized as a symptom.
It's just
of the
straight
problem.
up dismissed. Yeah, it's not even marginalized. He's like, no one can see the future, Lass. And it's like, you've been in episodes where people have time traveled.
Yeah. You've seen many smoke monsters at this point. They've demonstrated very well that they can do almost anything in the scientific world.
Right. I don't know if it's happened yet, but you've seen Abraham Lincoln in space.
I forgot about that.
Like, you went to a planet where the whole thing was a mirage. Why, if she's telling you she can see the future, are you like, no, you can't, Lass?
Yeah, why do they dismiss it?
Right.
Yeah. It's just so stupid. I guess it almost feels like whoever wrote I think it was directed by someone named Kim. I'm assuming that person is a woman. So it's strange that there was so much misogyny in this,
right? Considering
the 2 like top people were women.
Yeah.
Maybe they knew their place.
Right. I mean, in the 60s, they were probably like, that's a little too extreme. But it's interesting, too, because this episode also was written because she wanted there to be more of a female presence, like a strong female character on the show. And
swing and a miss.
Well, yeah. I mean, she is a strong female character, but only in the fact that she's defiant, not in the fact that she is holding her ground. You know, like,
nor in the fact that she exacts any change over the plot.
Right.
I mean, they literally call her, like when they're shooting the phasers at the smoke monster and it starts hurting Romaine, they call her, how's the girl? Is she still in pain? It's like, you mean the scientist that has been affected by this? Not the...
Right.
Right? Like, they say the girl. And I was thinking, how is this empowering anybody? Like, it's just business as usual.
Yeah. Well, and I've got a few technical things there. I didn't think about it until you mentioned it, but the storm came to Enterprise and everybody was impacted mentally in some way. And the only one who passed out was Mira. Everybody else survived. And then on the planet, nobody survived from the same mental sweep.
Although there weren't any humans, at least as far as... Oh, no, there was the one lady who was a human.
Yeah, who was actually supposed to be a different alien, but they just never happened. But so the other part too, how did Scotty know? Like, Kirk made that executive decision to shoot on the storm on the bridge. He didn't tell Scotty that was happening. And so how did Scotty know that she got hurt the moment the phaser was shot.
Well, I could probably do a little bit of work
Right.
for you and to say that, well, probably what happens is whenever somebody fires phasers,
There's something that happens in engineering to tell them. Yeah.
or you just know, like the whole ship knows. Like you would want the whole ship to be getting like a little notification message like phaser fired. But, or just that there's a light or something like, because I feel like you'd want people to know that there's some sort of battle happening.
A little notification on your pad. It's just like,
Yeah.
dismiss.
Turn off. God, every single time.
The little Star Trek insignia pops up of like the paperclip from Microsoft Word, you know? It's like, you keep avoiding these notifications. Do you want me to turn them off for good?
Yes. You keep tapping. It's like, tap. Yes. And it never
He just does a
happens. It always
backflip
comes
for
back.
you. Like, do you remember that?
Yes. It was, everybody hated it. Not one person used it.
Yeah. But you could tap it and it would like, you know, swirl up and make an exclamation point or like make the @ symbol.
I remember thinking to myself, how is this progress? How is this helping? How is this better?
We're
than the last
living
one?
in the future.
It would be funny if we fast forward to to the Enterprise and everybody has a little paperclip on their, on their screens. It's like, oh, they did it. Microsoft, they figured out what we needed,
Right?
and they kept it.
So to go back to the episode, since that joke's over.
Okay, it was over a while ago. Yeah.
Kirk and Spock are talking about it, and the line just presented itself so well. Kirk says, "Well, Mr. Spock says it's alive. Maybe I can sleep with it." And then they start talking about like other languages, using violence, and I thought they were going to talk about like the language of love because Scotty was in a relationship with the person who was connected to the storm.
Right.
So I wrote down what the moral dilemma was for this episode, which was, do you fire on the enemy you can't sleep with and hurt a different woman you might be able to sleep with later, or leave them alone and be the hero but risk dying later?
It's a tough one for Kirk.
Right? I know.
He's having some issues with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that the whole ending, I can't remember if you said you liked it or if you didn't like it. The part where they put her into the compression chamber to kill the thing. I actually liked that part. I thought it was no talking. They weren't interviewing her. Like this whole scene where they're interviewing her in the conference room. By the way, is that conference room always that green?
Oh, I don't know. I think so.
It felt like it was way more green than normal. Anyway.
Right. I did like in that interview where they called on Sulu and he came up like one of those CD-ROM interactive board games.
Or like one of those computer, like the Star Trek games.
Right.
Where it was, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he just kind of looks up at the camera and talks to the camera and then goes back to his work. And then it fades out again.
And you can keep clicking on him and it'll say the exact same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But the idea is that you're just disturbing him working.
Over and over.
And
he just has limitless patience. Yep.
And no more information.
And also in that interview scene, I took notes this time. I don't know if you could tell or not.
Yeah, it's nice.
Like Spock, they bring up Mira's brain wavelength. And they say how, it's the PBC, I think is what they called it, and how it never changes for anyone. And Spock is like, are you certain you didn't switch discs, or this is, they didn't get mixed up in any way? And he doesn't have his pulled up. He just happens to have a photographic memory of this wavelength, and the wavelength was a different size. So the computer had to shrink his down to compare it for them to be the same size. So he was able to spatially reconfigure his wavelength and know that it was the same as Mira Romaine's wavelength.
Yeah, he's Spock.
Right? It was
maybe you've not seen the show before, but
I was just super impressed by that mental calculating and weightlifting.
I did like Spock though. He was kind of they've I guess figured out how to write for Spock in the way that he was supposed to be at this point, because I feel like he was at his best in this episode.
Yeah.
And that's why I liked the ending. It felt very science fiction procedural, right? Where they were just going through the motions. Like there was no overt conversation they were having about anything.
Yeah.
Just like, we need to kill the thing and save the girl. and that's what we're trying to do.
Right.
And they actually did it. Spoilers, everybody. I was so surprised that somebody got to keep their girlfriend by the end of the episode.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That never happens.
Right? I mean,
And
seriously, how many episodes of the original series have we watched? I can think of 3 right off the top of my head where Kirk's girlfriend died.
Yeah.
The Paradise Syndrome, The City on the Edge of Forever, and The Conscience of the King.
Right.
Like,
which is it's a trait that was passed down to all the other Star Treks as well,
Yes.
where just everybody dies at the end if it's a love interest.
Right.
But it was kind of shocking, and I'm sure what happened was by the next episode, of which there weren't many, but the next episode, she's just not there. We just assume that they're together.
well, they dropped her off at
just
Memory
never
Alpha. You don't remember that?
No.
Oh yeah, like it was one of the last things he said. Like they said, is she still fit for duty and everything like that? And then Kirk said, you've got like 2 more weeks with her because she's got a job at Memory Alpha. And Scotty's like, aye, sir.
Well, see, at that point I was at 9.7 speed, so it probably just kind of flipped by and I didn't see it.
All you heard was fit duty memory.
Yeah. Like I feel like I've been giving too much power. I've been given too much power with my new
Absolutely.
app.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's so many things that I'm going to mention, and you'll be like, no, I didn't see that. I'll be like, are you kidding? It was like a 2-minute scene.
Well, what you're going to have to do is perform it at 9.7 speed to me, and then I'll know.
Right.
I'll remember what it was.
Yeah. Oh, right.
It doesn't make the pitch higher.
I know.
That would be hilarious.
So in that scene, when they figured out that they had the same wavelength, my mind immediately went to Spock doing a mind meld with her to see what was going on.
Yeah.
And I was really surprised that with all of this mind stuff, they didn't do that.
Or that he was going to mind meld with her after she had been inhabited by the monster.
Right. Yeah. And
Cool.
this was where the pivot happened, where like everything else was kind of, we were getting a little bit of new information. They were trying things. And then from the interview of Mira on, they had a plan. They didn't tell us what it was. And it was just about getting that plan into place. And it just moved so slow.
Yeah, it was 50 minutes long.
Yeah.
So long.
And that was like right at 22 minutes where they were interviewing her.
Yeah, and then it's totally backloaded
Yeah.
with that scene after finally the smoke monster has taken over Romaine, and we get all the information. It's like, oh, this is actually kind of fascinating.
Right.
I'm enjoying this. I feel like they are always leading up to this, and the lead up is always kind of, as you say, it just doesn't, there's not a lot of intrigue in it. It's just a lot of conversations about stuff.
Right. And that stuff could have been sprinkled throughout. Like they could have found out that the wavelengths, there was a planet long ago that emanated that same wavelength, and which they found in Memory Alpha. Like here's this database that they could have used to discover more information about this storm. And they discover that all of the inhabitants, were wiped out due to the sun exploding or something like that. And then we hear from them, their side, where yes, they were dying, but they managed to convert their energy or whatever. And they've been floating around wanting to find some place where they can inhabit and live the rest of their lives.
And you mentioned storm, so that never comes back. Spock explicitly corrects Kirk when he says, "It's not a storm, Captain." And I was thinking, oh, this is going to come back. The idea that Kirk thinks it's a storm, keeps calling it one. He calls it one or two more times after Spock corrects him. And
well, Sulu does many
never
times. He says the storm is changed course and is coming back. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I wanted there to be a little bit more clarity on why that was a thing,
but they didn't do that.
and they didn't do that. I guess I just want it to be shorter. Again, this is just there's no fixing this. It just needs to be something that it's not.
No,
for me to like it.
I think that this episode could have been amazing if like those last 8 minutes of the info dumping where we didn't know the plan and we heard everything about the Zetarians, like if they had sprinkled that throughout the episode and we had that more, we had those layers peeled back and we learned more and more about them, and then by the end, we learned that we assumed that it was a Zetarian storm that somehow became sentient, and we learned that it was just the essence of the inhabitants or something like that.
Or how about instead of making the Zetarians the entire subject matter of the episode, why not piggyback back and forth, not piggyback, bounce back and forth while on piggyback with the memory alpha place, which is totally fascinating. It's the culmination and storage depot of all of knowledge for the Federation.
Right.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Have a little bit more information about that place. And maybe there's something wrong with the memory chips and Spock has to try and help with that. Going back and forth, A plot, B plot, this thing, as opposed to just being the end, because there wasn't that much information except for the end. They were saving their dump for the end.
Right. Yeah, they shot their load all at the end. Yeah.
I was trying to avoid saying that, but now you blew both our loads.
All over the end. All over the backside.
Oh God, is this staying in? But yeah, I maybe that's what I wanted. I wanted there to be not just like a little bit more dilute or less dilute. That's the word. Less dilute of a plot line, and instead of trying to create more plot line with the Zetarian stuff, do another entire plot line.
Yeah, I mean I feel like this wasn't to the point where they were doing B plots. Yeah, I mean TOS basically doesn't have B plots at all. So the plot would have had to have still been about the Zetarians, but they could have had Memory Alpha at their disposal.
So the idea of Memory Alpha, I am curious what is being stored there that is not being stored on the ship itself, because the ship always felt like no matter what the show, it has its own Memory Alpha of all known knowledge.
Right.
I guess I can just say of all knowledge. We'll do the known math when you say knowledge.
Of all knowledge known and unknown.
Yeah. So I am curious what's in there. What things, because I got the impression that when you call up the computer on any of the enterprises, that you could get any information you want, a la the internet.
Right.
It is truly the accumulation of everything. Mm-hmm. So what is on Memory Alpha? Is it just a storage, like a backup depot kind of thing?
Right.
And there really should be more than one if it is a backup place. But I don't know. I was intrigued by the whole Memory Alpha thing, and I wanted to know more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't.
Right.
I didn't.
And we'll never know.
Now we're never. It is interesting though that the website Memory Alpha, that this is where they got their.
Yeah, it was fun to discover that. Yep.
Well, it was interesting that it came late in the show too. Yeah, I would have thought this would have been like a first season type of thing that they had set up. You know.
Right. I mean, but also when Memory Alpha was built, the website, the original series had been around for what, 40 years ish.
5 or 6 years.
At least, yeah. You know, so it makes sense that they would just use anything from those original 3 series rather than...
Right, that's true.
You know,
that's true.
Like, we have to find something within those first couple episodes.
Okay, so what do you think? Is it a proper Star Trek episode or not?
Yeah, I'd say it's a proper Star Trek episode. You know, I think that...
I would agree.
Yeah, the sci-fi was handled really well. And, you know, I clearly stated what the moral dilemma was.
Well, as an alternate, perhaps... there was a moral conundrum that was when Kirk was shooting at the cloud, that he had to make the decision of, do I kill the girl or do I save the ship type of thing. By the way, they could always run away. I don't know why that was not like retreat. You know?
They tried evasive maneuvers and the cloud just kept following them.
Well, there's evasive maneuvers, then there's just going to warp 9 and let's get out of here. And just right. I know it can travel faster than light, but can it go warp 9?
I think it did. I may be calculating incorrect, but yeah. But I mean, also at the end, just whether or not it was worth risking the girl to destroy the storm.
Yeah. Yes. Right.
Yeah.
And they did that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't really like the episode much. I felt like it was, you know, to quote myself from 5 minutes ago, dilute.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of sitting on the fence. I think I did like it just because of the beginning and the end. It's just that the back half was a struggle to get through.
See, but to me, that's kind of like going to a really fancy restaurant that you're paying $200 a person for, and the food is terrible.
Oh, see,
you get the food, not,
right? No, for me,
but except for the dessert.
No, what I would compare that to, because I did like the first half. I thought that the first half of them like discovering and revealing things was really good. It was just from 22 minutes to 6 minutes before the end, so that like 15 minutes right there was just very slow and just repeating the same thing, and we weren't getting any new information. So it was a struggle to get through. So I would compare it more to going to a fancy restaurant, paying a lot of money, having an amazing meal, having an amazing dessert, but the person you were with made it so awkward and uncomfortable that you did not have a good time. So, like you
Who would that be? Who would that be?
I'm not going to say. Like, I can easily think of at least 4 people.
Well, that you would sign up to go to dinner with this person at a really expensive restaurant. Be like, oh, right, that was a mistake.
Like 10 minutes into it, you're like, oh, right.
Oh, right. I hate you. I forgot.
I mean, just with that said, like, I could think of somebody who I would be like, yeah, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. And I get there and be like, oh, yeah, it is. This is the definition of that bad.
I have that. This is exactly what I was talking about. Can we take a picture?
Right.
Yeah, I have that person in my mind squarely.
But yeah, I mean, I think like if I was watching the series again, I wouldn't skip past this episode. I thought that it was good enough, and I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm a yes. You're a yes, no.
Yeah.
All right.
Which happens a lot. This is going to happen a lot with the original series for me. It's just going to happen.
Well, and I mean, I think it's happened every time with Voyager for us as well.
There have been some that I like that you don't, for sure.
Yes, I would say that's roughly all of them. Yeah. I know I like Timeless, and I'm banking on that's the only one.
There's maybe one more. I think there was one more that we actually liked. I think you liked the one Scientific Method. Did you not like that one? That's the one where they have all the invisible people.
Where they're invaded, but infiltrated was the better word.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember whether or not I liked it, but it doesn't matter. This is one of those things where the information is out there. We don't need to like try and go, is it? Did I?
Should we see what we're watching next, sir?
Yeah, let's do it.
I was hoping you would do your Hitchcock thing. Hitchcock being Gandalf. Yes, sir.
And let's see what we're watching next.
Star Trek: The Next Generation, Season 1, Episode 16, When the Bach Breaks.
I believe it's pronounced buff.
Right. My mistake. A planet that was... Oh, sorry. This is the Netflix blurb. A planet that was able to cloak itself for thousands of years suddenly reappears and reaches out to the Enterprise with an unusual request. It wants to sleep with the Enterprise's wife.
For 1 million bars of gold-pressed latinum. And the Hulu/Prime one says, Wesley and several children from the Enterprise are kidnapped by a sterile civilization which hopes to use them to rebuild their race.
What a crap blurb that is. Not crap like normal crap, but spoiler crap.
Right?
That's basically all of the reveals in the episode.
Right. But things are not as they seem. Nope. No, things are exactly as they... Yeah, that's everything that they... Yep.
Everything is as it seems, as written here.
All right.
I don't remember this episode at all. I know that people don't typically like the first season, and so everybody just kind of has a default, it's probably going to be crappy. But maybe it'll be good. You never know.
Yeah. No, I don't.
It's the first season.
It's about the kids, so, my hopes are not too high, but... But I mean, having said that, the episode where Picard is stuck with those 4 kids, like I remember genuinely liking that episode. I hope that my memory is right, but this isn't that episode, so that doesn't matter. I've been Jonathan,
and I've been Paul,
and this has been The Measure of an Episode.
Oh God, what does Picard sound like? But you already knew. No, that's Worf. It's like I'm reaching into a hat of impressions.
Say something that he says, and that gives you the voice.
Report. That's not enough. Report, Wesley. But you already knew that. That's better. I'm not good at like the slow Picard.
Right.
I'm good at like the
Shut up, Wesley. Yeah.
The shut up, Wesley Picard. The annoyed Picard.
Right.
Do we do it?
Yeah.
I have to do it again. But you already knew that.
That was good.
Is that too Janeway?
No.
Janeway?
No.
Okay. Good. That was a test you passed.